Hi, I'm Kimmie. Thank you for coming today. So the video that I wanted to put out for you guys did not happen. And it didn't happen for a couple different reasons. Mainly, I didn't prepare. I've had some personal family things going on, and it has taken my time away mentally. And we've been working on some projects around the property. So I apologize about that. So today I'm just kind of touch on my experiences out here going from city life to country life. So I am blessed to have a really good friend that bought 73 acres here in North Idaho pre-pandemic. And she was building this homestead from the ground up by herself as a widow. And I was blessed enough that she invited me to come and join her on this journey and YouTube it and share experiences together on building this homestead. And as you can see, it's pretty dang stunning. You know, sunsets out here are amazing, and I am so grateful to have this opportunity. So what makes me a country girl now? So when I first moved here, I could not even imagine processing an animal. And here we are, I'm 2 years in, and I can do the animal processing with obviously help. I have not yet done the culling myself yet, but I have been an assistant in that in numerous times. And I am making it through with less and less tears. And in fact, I think the last 2 times that we have processed animals, I have not had any tears at all, which is huge for me. For those that know me well, I have been an animal lover through and through my entire life. Not just animals, but bugs, creatures of any means, and I would not kill even a fly. I rescued spiders, put them outside, and I'm sure I really didn't rescue them because they probably froze to death, but I could not do anything like that. When we started having a pretty significant mouse problem. And when we lost Bobby, which was the cat that we had here on the property. And once Bobby was no longer with us, we started having some significant issues with the mice. And at first I would go in and the mice would be in the feed bucket, and I would dump them out away from, the property. I would take them out in the woods and I would dump them out. And that continued to happen. And then Heather was like, you got to take care of the mice. You can't just let them free. So the next time I went out there was a mouse that had babies in the bucket, and I was like, I cannot dispatch babies. I just cannot. I cannot. And so, of course, I did the same thing. I dumped them out and felt terrible because I know I'm supposed to be this, country girl now, and could not fathom doing something about that. As time went on, our mouse problem has become terrible. And because of that, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what, these mice have to go. We have to get rid of them. And as I was cleaning out the goat barn one day, I found a nest of baby mice, and I promptly fed them to the ducks. Now, I had a tiny bit of a twinge of guilt, but for the most part, I was happy that I was part of the solution of taking care of the mice. I apologize, we got an airplane flying overhead. So that shows me that I'm growing in this journey, this journey of self-sustainability, this journey of living a country life and really embracing it and being that change, right? So recently we had Kira come back, and for those of you that don't know Kira, she's autistic and she has lived a farm life her whole life. So she's lived in the country her whole life. And so Kira came back, and when Kira came back from living with her dad for, I don't know, it was many, many months, the other day it was raining, and I had asked her to help me cover the quail because it was going to rain. And so she came out with me, and it had been raining, so the so basically the tarp that we had over the quail had blown off, and so we were putting it back on. So of course it was dirty, it was disgusting. There was all sorts of stuff all over it, and wet, and just terrible. And I was just like, it's fine, it doesn't matter. And I just, we were throwing it over, and and it was really funny because I noticed what Kira was doing was what I did when I first came to the property. So Kira was touching it with her 2 fingers so that she could not get dirty, right? So and I noticed that that's something that I used to do. Now I hardly wear gloves. I wear gloves when I'm dealing with wood still, just because number 1, I don't like the sap all over my hands, and number 2, and also because I don't like having splinters. So I still do wear it with that kind of stuff. But now when I'm, caring for the animals, feeding, etc., I just wash my hands when I'm done, and it's totally fine. I'm totally fine. So those are a couple different instances on me really becoming more of a country person. And, it takes time. If you're brand new to this kind of lifestyle, it is an adjustment. It's a huge adjustment. You go from having a bathroom with a working toilet to going in a bucket or in an outhouse, right? So you have to give yourself some grace, give yourself some time, and it will get easier. Adjustments take time, and no matter what part of your life you're in, those are things that you have to, just give yourself some time. And I am so proud of myself now when I think back to how much I've changed from the pre-me, the city girl me, to the country me. And, every day I learn something new. I'm fascinated with a whole bunch of different avenues, and I am going out and learning more about foraging and medicinal plants and trees, and and different things here on the property that, like, for example, right? So we're building a barn. If you haven't been over to 'Cause We Can Farms, go over there. We are building a barn. We have a lot of fun together. It's a really cool process. So go over, subscribe, hit that bell notification, all that. But in this process, I'm learning about building. I'm learning about trees. I'm learning about the strength of trees, which is fascinating to me. And now when I'm out and about and driving, you look at trees and you look at them differently. They're not just what I thought, evergreen trees were, like a conifer tree was, right? So any tree that looked like that and it was still green in the middle of winter, to me, was just a conifer. It was just an evergreen tree. And they're not. There's a whole lot more to them. And there's some fascinating things about trees that I'll talk about in an upcoming video. Once I am able to actually put together what I want to put together for you guys. So it's been life changing, this whole process of learning about all of this stuff and growing our own food. And as you're out there in the media, social media and such, you start learning about all of these different things that are happening to our food. And I am so grateful that I have this opportunity to do this, because if I was still living in the city, my hands would be pretty tied. I mean, I would be able to have a small garden in my backyard, or depending on where I lived, maybe some chickens or maybe some rabbits. But to be able to grow things of the magnitude that we grow out here is amazing. So another specific on how I can tell that I'm different as far as city me to country me is when I first got here, we had a brand new baby goat, Bud, that we were bottle feeding, and him and his sister Sissy. And Bud kind of took to me. He was actually a pretty smart goat, because he's like, I'm gonna take to the city girl and act like she's my mom, and that way she won't want to process me. And it really did work. Like, he's a wether, and he's been sticking around for the 2 years that I've been here. But the problem is I am no longer a city girl, and I am seeing what country Kimmie sees. And country Kimmie is like, this goat's gotta go. So he's got some issues He's been bullying some of the other goats, and I have come to the point where Heather was absolutely right. You hear that, Heather? I said you were right. I've come to the point where I'm like, it's time for Bud to go, because number one, he's food aggressive. Number two, he's, fights the other goats. Number three, he's just a pain in the butt. He's breaking out of fences all the time. 3 times today, they've broke out of fences, and we've had to get them back in and fix them. And luckily enough, we have Heather has been training her corgis on herding sheep, right? So luckily enough, we pull out the dog, and I can get the goats to go where I want them to go, which is amazing to learn that skill as well. So anyways, that's one of the things that that the old me would have been like, absolutely not. Bud is going to be a pet forever, and he's not. He's gonna sadly go to freezer camp. So for those of you that love Bud, I'm sorry, but it's time, and we really do need to have the meat in our freezer. It's times are getting tough. Things are hard. Money is tight. It's getting to the point where you got to think about, again, self-sustainability, and that's part of this whole journey, is building this place up so that in the future, goals, I would say goals, 5-year goal is to have this completely built up the way we want it. There is always work to do on a farm or homesteading. There is always work to do. There's always something that needs fixed, and that's life, and that's totally fine. But having those base comforts in, like a working sink, which we currently don't have. So, because we're building a shipping container tiny home, and so we have an outhouse, and we have an outdoor sink. We use that house, we use the outdoor sink to wash our hands, and then there are times that we have to wash our clothes in buckets because we don't want to go to town, or we don't want to spend the prices that the laundromat charges. And that's all just kind of part of this lifestyle. And if you are new to this, or wanting to get into this and doing this kind of lifestyle, it gets easier. It gets a lot easier. You grow your muscles, you grow your brain, things start to change in your mindset, and you're like, this is an amazing life. This is an amazing gift from God that I am able to do this, honestly. And I feel very fortunate and very happy to be doing what I am doing. Even in our toughest days, we know that, we really truly are blessed here. And I'm sure that, those of you that also homestead or have a property or a building from the ground up, you understand where I'm coming from. So this ended up being a kind of a little bit of a rant, in a good way. A good rant. Is that such a thing? What do you call that? A grant? So I appreciate y'all joining me today and listening to me, and being part of this whole journey of mine. I've talked about it a lot, and if this is your first time joining in on this, I appreciate you coming, and I am so glad you're here. And if you like my content, well, you probably don't know if you like my content. So watch some videos, and then you'll know if you like my content. And then hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. You all have a fantastic, blessed week. I love you all. I appreciate you all.